I work as a photographer for a modest private firm. Recently, I received a commission from a magazine to shoot an elderly woman, and the remuneration was very attractive. Excited by this opportunity, I began my search for a suitable model. I looked at all the women I knew, but unfortunately, none of them met the age criteria. They were all younger than required. Faced with this dilemma, I decided to consult my wife, Fiona. "There are options," she said. "How about my mom, Morag? She's getting old and ready to make money." "What's the shoot?" Fiona asked. "In beautiful lingerie," I reply. Fiona pondered this for a while too. We started discussing options together. Posting ads didn't seem like a good idea. I didn't want to get a lot of women I'd have trouble screening. I sat there thinking until Fiona slapped herself on the forehead and said, "I'm an idiot." "I have a mom, Morag." How could I have forgotten about her? Especially as she's definitely suited to modeling great figure, not overweight, retired, and her legs are still slim. That's important for lingerie shoots. Plus, she looks after herself. She has a beautiful face. "Do you think she'll say yes?" I asked. Fiona called her mom and briefly explained what was required of her. Morag thought for a few minutes and agreed. I was delighted and arranged to meet her at the studio. "What should I bring with me?" Morag asked. "Just a shave of the legs and a wash. That's enough," I reply, grinning. She grinned. "I always keep my legs shaved. I'm ready." That evening, Morag arrived at the studio looking fabulous haircut, manicure, the whole deal. I'm not even talking about her legs. I could finally appreciate her figure. She walked behind the curtain, where her clothes were already prepared, and started to get dressed. I sat quietly by the camera and did my job adjusting the lighting, setting the background. Then Morag came out from behind the screen and I whistled. She looked gorgeous. In normal clothes, she's an ordinary woman in her 50s, but in her underwear, wow. She noticed my reaction and started to flirt a little. "How do I look?" she asked, assuming a playful pose. I swallowed hard. "Wait a minute," I said. "Let's get started, and you can get comfortable in front of the camera. Walk back and forth. Relax, so the shots come out natural." Mora began to walk, her heels clicking from the previous shoot. She moved with such grace that I thought she might well be a professional model. I took a couple of shots and then asked her to sit on the table and lean against it. Morag followed my instructions flawlessly, and I felt myself getting anxious. The tension was palpable. She noticed it and blushed, looking at me expectantly. "Let's see where this goes," I thought, putting the camera aside. I walked over to her, and things got stormy and passionate. That's what I call a photo shoot. When we reconvened, Morag asked if there would be any more sessions. I explained that the shoot would last 3 days. Then we would select the best shots, process them, and send them to the client. Morag smiled and hid behind a screen while I finished the job. When I got home, Fiona asked, "How's the modeling going?" Instead of answering, I showed her some pictures. Fiona shook her head in surprise. "Wow, I didn't know my mom was so hot," she said. The next day, Morag came in relaxed, as if she'd been doing it for years. The new lingerie was even sexier, with lace and garters. She took different poses, and I took pictures. But of course, I couldn't resist, and Morag didn't mind the interruption. We had one more day left, day 3. Fiona was no longer interested in the process, saying she would wait for the end result. On the third day, Morag came in, and the shoot went brilliantly. Everything was perfect. It's been a long time since I've felt like that. Afterwards, as I sat editing the photos, Fiona looked over my shoulder, impressed. "Let's take her on staff," she suggested, "for group shoots when we need a mature model next to the young ones." The idea sounded great to me. Fiona talked to Morag herself. I stayed out of it so that my interest wasn't obvious. Morag readily agreed, saying, "Why not? I've got nothing else to do in retirement, and this could be fun." And it was fun. Morag started working with us, and the orders started coming in: clothing ads, food photography, and even some personal projects when the studio was empty. It didn't happen every day, but when we were in the mood, we even had a bottle of bubbly saved in a secluded corner. Morag was making progress. Each time her paintings got better and better enough for an exhibition. Fiona didn't suspect a thing, and everything was fine at home. Morag was the cherry on top, something I couldn't resist. And when she suggested a bathtub shoot in the studio, I winked, liking the idea. "It's warmer in there," she said, "and we won't get cold." How had I not thought of that before? I was already anticipating the adventure, imagining a bathtub filled with bubbles. On the day of the bathroom shoot, Morag came in with a mischievous smile. She had brought scented candles and rose petals, wanting to create the perfect atmosphere. I couldn't help but admire her enthusiasm. It was infectious. We set up a bath in the middle of the studio, filling it with warm water and plenty of bubble bath. Morag undressed behind a screen, and when she came out, she looked absolutely stunning, dressed in a robe. She stepped into the water to let the bubbles cover her, and I started taking photos. Morag posed naturally. Her expression changed from playful to sultry, and the candles cast a warm glow on her skin. The photos turned out beautifully, and I was mesmerized by her. After a while, Morag threw me a look that spoke volumes, and we both realized what was going to happen next. I put the camera away, and we let the moment take over, and the warmth of the water only intensified the passion between us. Morag laughed softly, leaning back against the back of the bath, her eyes glistening. "It was definitely worth it," she said. I smiled, agreeing wholeheartedly. The rest of the shoot was more relaxed, with Morag lying in the water and playfully blowing bubbles. The photos turned out beautifully, yet professionally, and I knew they would be some of the best shots I had ever taken. The next few weeks were very busy. We had a few more shoots, some for clients and others just for fun. Morag really became part of our team, and her confidence grew with each session. She even started coming up with ideas for shoots, one in a field of wildflowers and another in an elegant evening dress at sunset. Her creativity was inspiring, and I enjoyed every moment of working with her. Fiona continued to support me, often commenting on how good the photos turned out. She had no idea of the bond that had developed between me and Morag, and I intended to keep it alive. My relationship with Fiona remained strong, but with Morag, it was something else: an unspoken understanding, a reverence that was impossible to ignore. One day, after a particularly successful shoot, Morag and I sat in the studio with a bottle of wine. We talked about everything about life, about her retirement, about how excited she was about modeling. She confessed that she hadn't felt so alive in years, and I felt the same way. There was something liberating about these moments we shared, something that went beyond the camera and photos. As the sun set behind the window and soft orange light flooded the studio, Morag looked at me and smiled. "I never thought retirement would be like this," she said. I raised my glass to her. "Here's to unexpected adventures," I replied, and we both laughed. The bathroom shoot was one of the many unique projects we worked on together. Every time Morag got in front of the camera, she brought an elegance and boldness to the image that I admired. She became not just a model, but a muse, and each session was like a new chapter in an unfolding story. Days turned into weeks, and we had more and more projects. Morag even started collaborating with young models, and her energy seemed to inspire everyone around her. She was no longer just a pensioner looking for something to occupy her time. She had become an integral part of the studio, and I could no longer imagine it without her. The thrill of our mystery kept the boredom at bay. Every stolen glance, every subtle touch, when no one else could see, it was all part of the dance we had created. And as long as Fiona remained in the dark, I saw no reason to stop it. It was risky, but the reward was worth it. Morag was worth it. And so our adventure continued, one photo shoot after another, one shared secret after another, and we always looked forward to what was next.